let's go back to the merits of the case, because lawyers talk. Some people do not even understand what you're talking about. What did I do? What is this whole trial all about? Well, I fed the poor. And I fed the poor in the middle of the greatest crisis that this land has ever seen. I am not sorry that I feed the poor. I will not apologize that I'm feeding the poor. I'm actually believe that this is the greatest privilege for a man like me to be able to assist the less fortunate and to save lives. And for that, I will never apologize.
Sheila Gunn, Reid for Rebel News, and I want to give you a quick update about what is happening in a courtroom in Calgary, Alberta this week. Pastor Artur Pawlowski is on trial for one ticket relating to an illegal gathering in violation of COVID restrictions in December 2020. That illegal gathering was an open-air soup kitchen / Christmas festival. If you want to hear more about the trials and tribulations of Pastor Artur Pawlowski and to support his legal battle with the province for religious freedom, free speech, and the right to freely assemble, please visit saveartur.com. And on that website, you can make a tax-deductible donation to Art's legal fees. Now, as part of the weekly anti-lockdown protest in Calgary that takes place literally in the public square in front of Calgary City Hall, Art organized a Christmas festival wherein he fed the homeless steak, he gave them other hot food, hot drinks, and in conjunction with other churches organized warm clothes and offered the homeless Christmas presents. And Pastor Art was doing this at a time when the city of Calgary limited shelter space to stop the spread of COVID. Art was giving the homeless resources the city would not, and that act of kindness and dignity in the Christmas season prompted city bylaw officials to ticket Art for holding an illegal gathering. Now, the problem for the prosecution in court right now is that even though there were restrictions on gatherings in the province at the time, a recent decision by a court in Alberta ruled that public gatherings like protests outside were not subject to restrictions.
So the question before the judge today was a public protest a private social gathering? And the judge said, no, it's not. So there was a not guilty finding. And the accused was not convicted under the Public Health Act, and is a really great win because the Public Health Act allows for prosecution up to $100,000 fine for attending in gatherings or breaching a public health order like the CMOH order.
So now the court is trying to say that this event from Art, well, it was exclusively a Christian event, even though the Crown's own witnesses said that nobody checked for belief in Christ before a homeless person was fed or provided a present, and that not a single person was turned away. You could not actually get more of a public event than a public protest in the public town square in front of City Hall, but the city and public health deep state officials here in Alberta, well, they sure want their pound of flesh after Pastor Artur Pawlowski embarrassed them on an international scale for resisting their incursions into his church during the pandemic. Interestingly enough, the Crown Prosecution Service in Alberta is sparing no expense to go after Art for what will amount to probably a $1,000 fine if indeed he is convicted. Yesterday, Tuesday, was day 2 of a 3-day trial. The Crown is calling up to 9 witnesses to testify to things that Art already admits that he did. He just doesn't think that they were illegal. And this is particularly outrageous since Alberta is short-staffed on prosecutors, and it's causing a problem with real charges for real crimes being dropped because they are going beyond the constitutional time limit to get to trial. Now, on the first day of court, we had Sid Fizzard, our Calgary-based reporter, in the courtroom. Here's the interview he did with Art after a very long, boring day of hearing the Crown waste time and read evidence into the official record.
The whole thing that we witness right now it breaks my heart because it's such a case of wasting court's time. I was willing to admit that all the evidence the Crown is presenting of me being there, feeding the poor, yes, I did it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm willing to stand up in front of the court and say, yes, Your Honor, I did feed those people. I still feed them. And if that's deserves a punishment, well, I've done it. But am I guilty of a crime in our democratic society? No, I'm not guilty of any crime. The Crown and the politicians and the whole so-called justice system right now, they are guilty of a crime. So what a waste of time. What a waste of taxpayers' money. Instead of actually chasing real criminals, drug dealers, pimps, human traffickers, people that actually commit real crimes, they are designating this enormous, huge resources into fighting someone that what? What did I do? I know what I did. I embarrassed them. That's what the whole thing. This is vengeance. This is a pure case of state-focused vengeance. That's what it is. And I'm going to still stand up, and I'm going to still do my best to save as many lives as possibly I can.
Now, Tuesday afternoon, I was in the court in Calgary all day with Rebel News journalist Celine Gallus, who is in the courtroom today, Wednesday. And she'll have an interview with Art after court is adjourned. Now, yesterday we heard testimony about the outrageous things that Pastor Art did, like hugging and touching the homeless. We also heard a peace officer say that she knew Art's gathering broke health restrictions because the people at his event were not from the same household. They were literally homeless. Once again, to support Pastor Artur Pawlowski as he fights against the province after the province criminalized human decency towards the homeless during the pandemic, please consider making a donation at saveartur.com, and donations qualify for a charitable tax receipt through a special partnership with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Pastor Artur Pawlowski has been in a fight with the province since the very beginning of the pandemic. He refused to allow his church to be invaded by public health inspectors, and he refused to stop taking care of the homeless during the pandemic. For that, he faced fines and contempt of court. To support his legal battle with the province, please consider making a tax-deductible donation to saveartur.com.